Hey y'all, I want to start talking about my next project I'm going to be working on. This is my Fender Dual Showman. This is a 1966 Fender musical instruments. That means this is a CBS era, but still with the black face control panel Dual Showman. The Showman, if you're not familiar with the Showman, but you are familiar with the guitars, the Showman is basically a twin reverb amplifier in piggyback configuration. Now, I say basically, there's no reverb in this. There's no mid control on channel 1. The twin has an extra channel of gain on the reverb channel. But basically, this is a big 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 L6 powered power tubes. This is an 80-watt amplifier, and like I say, it's a piggyback configuration, so there's a amplifier head and then there's a speaker cabinet. The Showman was introduced in 1960. It was one of Fender's first really big amps, and maybe the most defining characteristic of it was the speaker cabinet that it came with had a single JBL 15-inch speaker. The speaker was a 130 or a 130f. That was a JBL high-fidelity home stereo speaker. And it was put into a cabinet that JBL designed. JBL designed this cabinet. It has what they call a tone ring, which we'll get to see. But basically, it's a fancy way to port the speaker. So this is a high-fidelity guitar speaker. Later on, Fender made what they called the Dual Showman, which is what this is. And the Dual Showman, they took the single JBL D140. They did away with the tone ring, and they put 2 speakers in the box and made it sealed. Now, the difference between the Dual Showman and the Showman is the output transformer. The Showman has an 8 ohm power output transformer. The Dual Showman has a 4 ohm output transformer. So what I've got here is I've got a Dual Showman, but I've got a single tone ring cabinet, which I know what you're saying, that's an impedance mismatch. But actually no, because I've got 2. And what I'm sure you can see is the bottom one has been modified. Somebody's changed the speaker out. Somebody's actually changed the speaker out of the top one also. So there are no JBL D130s in either of these cabinets. I'm not sure the vintage of this cabinet. We're going to get into it and maybe figure it out. The cabinet on the bottom is a 1968, and you can tell because of this silver trim ring around the grill cloth. This is what they call a drip edge cabinet, and they only made them in 1968, which makes this somewhat rare, but also it's been really modified, so it's rare, but it's not very valuable. Now, what I'm going to do is, you can see this one here has been, the Tolex has started to come up. Somebody has stapled it. If we pick up the amplifier head, we can see that there's big holes in the Tolex. It's kind of a beat up cabinet. All the metal is rusty, and if we look at the bottom speaker, the one where they've cut the grill out, it's not quite as torn up. The Tolex is lifting up, as you can see. But also it looks like somebody used this as a paint bench. There's paint splattered all over it. So there's some more paint. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this speaker cabinet, we're going to take this speaker cabinet, we're going to take all the Tolex off, put a new grill cloth on, put a new grill cloth on, because even though this one looks all right, if you can see the weave in the grill cloth, it does this. Somebody has replaced this grill cloth. It's all wavy. So what we're going to do is we're going to re-Tolex it, re-grill it, and we're going to put the correct speakers in it. And we're not going to put in JBL D130s. We're going to put in JBL D140s, which are essentially the same speaker with a ribbed cone, and that is the JBL bass speaker. So what we're going to end up having is a dual Showman head, which is good for 4 ohm output. Have a pair of 8 ohm cabinets, which together will be running 4 ohms. We're going to have D140 bass speakers in them. So we're going to have a pretty righteous bass rig when this gets done. Let's get to taking these apart. Alright, this is going to be the one we're going to do first. This is the Single 15 Showman with the tone ring that doesn't have the grill cloth cut out. However, if you look at how crooked the grill cloth has been put on, we have to redo the grill cloth. That's not going to work. This also has great big rips in the Tolex. It's been stapled on. Come around to the back. The screws that hold the back on have been replaced with drywall screws. So I'm going to take all these screws out, and there's a lot of screws in the back. I'm going to have to take these out and replace them with the correct chrome plated screws. I'm going to take all the hardware off, all of it off, and then I'm going to start peeling the Tolex back. Now, probably the most important thing that I can tell you is when you're taking your Tolex off, don't get a box cutter and just start cutting and ripping, because you'll take the old Tolex off, you use that as a pattern to cut your new Tolex. So let me get this set up. I'm going to fast forward this so it's not boring. We're going to take the back off, take all the hardware off, take the grill out, and then take the Tolex off. We're going to need a few basic tools for this. Of course, we're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, something to pry the staples out, something to grab the staples and pull them out. And while I'm on it, this is called a screwdriver, although that's somewhat of a misnomer. This is actually a screw remover. This is a screwdriver. So this puts them in, this takes them out. There's your pro tip. Okay, just for laughs, these are what I pulled out of this Showman cabinet. These are just 2-inch long drywall screws. This is a screw that came out of the other Showman cabinet. So this is the correct screw. This is a pan head Phillips wood screw. This is a drywall screws. So the good news is the drywall screw is actually smaller than the screw that is correct. So I might not have to plug all and re-drill all these holes. I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait to get in to figure that out. But now we can pull the back off and see what's inside this thing. Okay, so here's our speaker. It's bolted into the tone ring, and there's our magic numbers that will decode it. So 137 is CTS, that's Chicago Telephone Systems. It was a pretty big supplier of Fender speakers. 75 is the year, 49, 48, 49 is the month. So the 49 month of 1975. So at some point somebody replaced this speaker with a 1975 CTS, so I'm going to have to see if I can pull this thing out of the tone ring. And let's see. There are other. Don't see any other codes except for that. And I'm not sure how to decode that number. But anyway, I'm going to start pulling the nuts out of this speaker and see if I can get it out. Alright, I'm not having any luck getting the nuts off because the nuts are right here and here, but the heads of the screws are obviously on the other side. So I'm going to have to instead pull the baffle off by taking these screws out and just drop the baffle out the front. And I'm can already see from when they replaced this speaker, they replaced the grill cloth because that's really sloppy looking. So the grill cloth is either new or they took it off and didn't know how to rehang it. But the Tolex actually looks pretty good. The Tolex looks a whole lot like this looks like a factory wrap job. It's real clean. Nothing's jagged, so I mean that's good, and that this will make a good pattern for recovering it, although there were no staples in the originals. So anyway, I'm going to yank the baffle out. Okay, we've got the baffle completely unscrewed. This ought to pop it right out. And there you go. Just going to set this down like this. We're going to grab our small screwdriver and pliers, and we're just going to take all the staples out of this grill cloth. There you go, one 1975 CTS 15-inch speaker sitting in a Fender tone ring. Whew. Okay, that's all there really is to taking apart the baffle. You can see how the tone ring works. The speaker sits right here, and it's got a sealed cabinet around the back, and the vibrations come, they go through these ports, and they come out here around the speaker. So it's just a ported speaker, but the sound waves go around and through here and then come out here. So it's a pretty nifty design. Let's start working on the cabinet. So here's a little tech tip for you. You can get these at car part stores. This is a stainless steel bowl. It's got a magnet on the bottom, so everything you put in will stick and you won't lose it. Also, every single thing I've pulled out of this cabinet so far is garbage. All the screws that held the back on are these drywall screws. These finish washers are not right, and we've got a whole bunch of staples that were holding the grill cloth on. So all this is going to get dumped, and now we're going to move on to the next step, which is taking off all the hardware. So all this stuff is going to get saved, and let's do that.